Hello everyone, welcome back to Awakening Purple Light. Today, I invite you to walk with me through a topic that is both fascinating and deeply profound, emptiness in Tibetan Buddhism. Let me ask you something. If I told you that many people leave Buddhism, not because they do not believe, but because they believe the wrong thing, does that sound familiar? They hear the word emptiness and assume that, in the end, nothing is real. Life is not real. Emotions are not real. Pain is not real. Love is just an illusion. And then some people give up. Some become emotionally numb. Some tell themselves that they have understood. In the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, emptiness does not mean nothing at all. It is not a denial of the world. It does not tell you to turn your back on life. Quite the opposite. Precisely because everything is empty, everything is able to function. If all phenomena were truly fixed, if the self were truly rigid, if suffering had an unchanging essence, then there would be no path to liberation at all. And here lies the first paradox. The traditions that speak most deeply about emptiness are often the most vibrant and alive. Tibet is not a land of nihilism. It is a land of dense rituals, rich symbolism, and a moral system powerfully grounded in compassion. If emptiness were simply a void, why would all of that be necessary? This question is asked to take you further. Tibetan Buddhism inherits the Middle Way tradition, where one central statement has been repeated for centuries. Because all phenomena arise dependently, they are empty. But here, we will not rush to define anything. Because emptiness, when understood only as a concept, becomes the very thing it is not. What matters more is this. If emptiness is not nihilism, then what have we misunderstood all this time? And why is it that even a small misunderstanding can send an entire spiritual path off course and into darkness? You may hear this phrase hundreds of times in Buddhism, yet rarely stop to ask what it truly means. All phenomena are empty. It sounds simple, but that very simplicity is the greatest trap. Because the human mind is fast, it hears the word empty and immediately jumps to the conclusion, oh, so nothing exists. But Tibetan Buddhism has never said that. No Middle Way scholar has ever said that. And if someone does say that, they have fallen into what this tradition calls one of the most dangerous wrong views. In the Middle Way, emptiness does not mean nothing exists. It means there is no inherent nature. What does inherent nature mean? It means something that exists by itself, independent of anything else, unconditioned, and unchanging. If something had inherent nature, it would have to exist independently of everything around it. Now, take a moment to look back at yourself. Who are you without memory? Who are you without a body? Who are you without language to name yourself? What you call the self, when each layer is peeled away, what remains that can exist entirely on its own? When people hear that the self has no inherent nature, many become uncomfortable. They feel threatened, as if someone were trying to erase them from the world. And then a new fear appears. If there is no real me, then who is suffering? Tibetan Buddhism does not deny suffering. It does not deny the one who experiences suffering. It simply says this: human beings do not exist in the way you think they do. Suffering is always present. Sensations are real, but there is no fixed self, sitting at the center, controlling everything. And it is right here that many people fall into another misunderstanding. They assume that if there is no inherent nature, then nothing matters anymore. No right, no wrong, no good, no evil, no karma, no result. But Tibetan Buddhism calls this nihilism, a view that cuts off all connections. The opposite of nihilism is eternalism, the belief in an unchanging self, a fixed soul, an identity that remains the same over time. And the subtle point is this: Emptiness does not stand on either side. It does not say that everything exists forever, but it also does not say that everything disappears into nothingness. Emptiness stands in the middle, and precisely because it stands in the middle, it is very difficult to grasp. Nagarjuna once said, in essence, when one sees dependent arising, one sees the Dharma. When one sees the Dharma, one sees the Buddha. Dependent arising here is not a doctrine. It is a way of seeing everything exists because everything else exists. Everything changes because nothing stands on its own. A flower is not a flower by itself. It is soil. It is water. It is light. It is time. It is countless conditions coming together. If you remove the flower from all of those conditions, the flower disappears. But that does not mean the flower is not real. It only means this: the flower has no inherent nature, and this is the point so many people miss. Precisely because it has no inherent nature, the flower can bloom. Precisely because it is not fixed, it can come into being. If the flower had an unchanging essence, it would never change. It would not bloom. It would not wither. It would not be beautiful. It would not be fragile. Emptiness, understood this way, is not a denial of life. It is the condition that allows life to function. But why does this matter so much? Because if you misunderstand emptiness, you will misunderstand karma too. And that is why Tibetan Buddhism says, misunderstanding emptiness is more dangerous than not understanding anything at all. If you believe nothing truly exists, then your actions no longer matter. Compassion becomes a decorative concept. Responsibility disappears. But if you understand that things exist without inherent nature, then every action you take becomes more important than ever. Because in a world of dependent arising, no action is isolated. No thought is harmless. No word leaves no trace. And right here, another door begins to open. If there is no fixed self to protect, then what is stopping you from opening your heart to others? If the self is only a flow, why cling so tightly to an old version of yourself? These questions are not meant to push you into doubt or confusion. They are meant to bring you closer to a turning point. Because when emptiness is understood correctly, it does not take away your worth. It dissolves the illusion of fixedness. And when that illusion dissolves, what appears is not a void, but a vast space for compassion, for freedom, and for a different way of living. But to truly see that, we need to take one more step, a very important step. Because if emptiness is only logic, it is still not enough. There is a moment when a practitioner realizes that emptiness and compassion are not two separate tracks, but one reality seen from two different directions. And in that very moment, the way you see suffering, the self, and the path to liberation begins to shift. More specifically, there is a moment that many practitioners describe in almost the same way, not in the same language, not with the same images, but the feeling is remarkably similar. It is not the moment of, I figured everything out. It is not the moment when all doubt disappears. It is like you have been gripping something for so long that you forget. You are even holding on. And then you let go. Not because someone told you to, but because you see you never needed to hold that tightly in the first place. In Tibetan Buddhism, this moment is not given fancy names. It is described very simply. It is when wisdom meets compassion. Up to this point, we have said a lot about no inherent nature. But if we stop there, emptiness can still turn into a vague idea, an abstract truth, a sophisticated philosophical system, something to debate, to prove, to win conversations with. But Tibetan Buddhism does not stop there. If there is no fixed self, if everything arises dependently, then what keeps us from turning our backs on the suffering of others? Many people assume emptiness will make people indifferent, but the experience of practitioners is the opposite. When there is no longer a self to protect, no longer a sinner to defend, what appears next is not numbness. What appears is understanding, clarity, and direct seeing. The pain of others is no longer blocked by the boundary between me and them. The joy of others is no longer measured through comparison and competition. Compassion, at this point, is not a moral ideal. It is the natural response of a mind that clearly sees dependent arising. No one in Tibetan Buddhism says, once you understand emptiness, you will never suffer again. Suffering still comes. Loss still happens. The body still ages. The mind still wavers. But what changes is this: there is no longer someone trapped inside those experiences. Suffering is no longer a sentence. It becomes a phenomenon arising, abiding, and dissolving. And when this is seen directly, fear falls apart. People fear emptiness because they fear disappearing. But Tibetan Buddhism points to an even deeper paradox. What makes you suffer is not the possibility of falling apart, but the illusion that you were never changing in the first place. You have been changing your whole life. In every cell, in every thought, in every memory, but only when you stop trying to freeze yourself into a particular identity do you truly begin to let go gently. It is like waves and water. Waves can rise high. They can be violent. They can crash against the rocks and break apart. But when a wave realizes it is water, it no longer needs to fear falling apart because its nature was never lost. Emptiness is the same. It does not say that you do not exist. It says this: you never existed in the way you thought you did. And because of that, you can live more flexibly, love more deeply, let go more quickly. At this point, we can return to the question raised at the beginning. If emptiness is not nihilism, does not erase responsibility, and does not make life meaningless, then what is it actually doing? The answer can be summed up in 3 very simple points. First, emptiness breaks the illusion of fixedness, not reality itself. Second, precisely because everything arises dependently and has no inherent nature, every action, every thought, every choice becomes more important than ever. And third, when the wisdom that sees emptiness walks together with compassion, liberation is no longer escaping the world, but living fully in the world without being bound. By now, you may still have many questions, and that is completely normal, because emptiness is not something to believe in. It is something to see, to observe, to contemplate directly within your own life. And before we end, I want to leave you with one question. If the self is only a dependently constructed process, then what in this life are you holding on to most tightly? Out of fear that if you let go, you would no longer be you? If this video helped you see emptiness in a different way, please like the video to support the channel, subscribe if you want to continue exploring Buddhist philosophy more deeply, and leave a comment below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Or are you still unsure? If everything is empty, how does karma actually function, and what truly goes with us when we die? I will see you in the next part.